T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Launch Sequence Podcast, the best place to find a combination of both tomatoes and sci-fi video games. We also have some pretty cool guests that come along here, and this week we've got return guests, the Dancing Fellows Execute and the AstroPub. How are you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
Just
You're doing
dancing,
good, yeah.
just constantly dancing.
We're just constantly dancing because this is just a secret Inforunners episode.
Basically,
So,
yeah,
that's
this is essentially like an Inforunners episode, yeah. Yeah, so anybody who hasn't seen Inforunners Execute takes basically the pilot seat on that YouTube channel, and we are all part of the Inforunners group, but we do a lot of talking about generally ship stuff, but a lot of aspects of Star Citizen. This, however, is a podcast for all things sci-fi gaming. Generally, we focus on Star Citizen, but we've done Starfield a little bit in the past, and we're looking at other stuff. Today, though, our topic is all what's been happening in Starfield recently. We got Invictus Week. We had a free fly event with tens of thousands of new members coming in to play the game. And we got a big announcement and roadmap update telling us what's going to go on with the next couple of updates. Big features, persistent entity streaming, salvage, all that stuff. So we'll be chatting that today. And I guess just to get kicked off, normally I like to introduce our guests and talk about their history and all that stuff. But let's just talk about real quick the sci-fi news that came out this week. A couple other big things in the space game area. First, I want to talk about Hardspace Shipbreaker. Have you guys gotten a chance to play that?
I own it, but I haven't played it since it released, so to speak, as it went 1.0. Yeah.
I've played it since 1.0. I enjoy it. It's very good. I'm gonna do my best not to relate it to Star Citizen because it's I will relate it later. But if you enjoy a bit of dark humor mixed with very space engineers but wrecking stuff instead of building stuff, then it's done very similar to like those mechanic games, like the car mechanic sims or tank mechanic sims or mech mechanic, where like, but instead of building something or repairing something, your job is to slowly pull things apart and then sort it out. It's kind of like the reverse of those.
It's so great too. It's like you basically just get thrown into a human-sized 3D puzzle, and they tell you like figure out how to break all this apart and get it moved. You're a salvager. You're a spaceship salvager. You're paying off a debt. And I think I'm thinking what the AstroPub was going to relate it to Star Citizen would be like, imagine Hurston if they were able to just make you work for them. You're in debt by like 8 trillion credits, so you're just salvaging nonstop. But it's a really cool game, a lot of creativity, and it's just super relaxed. I love it. I really didn't start playing it until this month, but I've fallen in love for sure.
Yeah, it's it will be a different mechanic from what we get though. But I think there's definitely a place for it. As you said, it is more akin to a puzzle game. Yeah. In the end, like as you go through, it becomes more and more complicated.
Yeah. And the ships get big. I like that. The other big thing that happened this week was No Man's Sky, the game that just keeps on building itself back up, got another big update. And with it this time, it kind of turned into what people are calling a roguelite. It's getting a little bit of a respawn system where you get random stuff when you respawn, but there's also space whales. And I haven't personally gotten in the game to see them yet. Have either of you?
No,
I've
I have
seen
not.
people play it, but I haven't seen it myself. No.
Yeah. What do you?
Can I give a confession? I actually own No Man's Sky, but I've never played it.
Never?
Not once.
Oh, you're gonna have to jump in with us, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. It's the actual space sim. Look, they've got space whales already.
Go ahead
And sandworms. What are we? They're taken from our recipe book.
Yeah, but we all work so hard. Like, do you know how often we actually get to sit down and play a game? Like, it's pretty hard for us to like right now. Just to put in perspective, for me, it is 3 minutes to 6 a.m. in the morning. You know, I'm going to get up at the weirdest times to actually get in contact with you guys. So,
international podcasts are kind of hard. Thank you, though. Thank you for waking up.
That's why I keep rubbing my eyes, because I'm not only just waking.
Oh, I thought you were crying.
Yeah,
crying
just
at the
that
glory
sad.
of No Man's Sky. Yeah. Like, I wanted space whales first.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, I thought that was kind of ironic that No Man's Sky was, not only did they do the sandworm, they also do the space whales, things that people like to talk about with Star Citizen a lot. But obviously it's going to be a little bit of a different implementation.
I think it just shows that the same sci-fi tropes go across multiple, genres. Like they have X-wing like ships as well, like that we just got with the Scorpius. So, it's similar tropes and all.
We're all about tropes. But anyways, let's get to the main topic, really, of the podcast, essentially every week, which is Star Citizen, and what's been going on this last week, which was Invictus week. Now, this game has many in-game events, and they generally correspond with out-of-game events and sales. Now, on Inforunners, I mean, you did a video every week or every day, right?
Every day of the sale. So every 2 days, which was a lot better. Like in previous years, it had to be every day, and it was just sleep was a mystifying thing that I could never find during that time period. Yeah, but especially when you get up at like 2 a.m. and then you're up to about 5 a.m. every day, it was really off-putting. But now it's been a lot better. As the years have gone on to, like, on the Discord, I've got a lot of people that filled the questions, so I've got a lot more people to help this time around, which has been great. But obviously every 2 days just gives you a little bit of a breather. But I think, I don't know, Paul, you tell me about what you think as the event as a whole, but I think the event is a little slowed its roll. I think I'd kind of say, like, it seems a bit slower this year, or do you think I'm being pedantic?
I think it's slower for people who've seen it before. I think this event overall it's not about us old curmudgeons who've been here and this is our third Invictus. It's honestly about the people this is their first Invictus, or they're brand new, they've never seen the game before, and plopping in.
Agreed.
Because I think that's really where things are coming in. People are like, wow, what? There's an entire conference hall that you can go to and rent ships. Because every year I do a lore tour where I go around for the floor and talk about all the lores of the different ships and the ship manufacturers. And when I've noticed there's a lot of people who are older who's like, oh, I love these, and then a lot of newer people coming in being like, I didn't realize there's this much lore about just these ships and these companies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this year it feels a lot more of a event. It feels like more of the same for us, but I think it's because this is our third one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We definitely do see a lot more people come in, don't we, during these events, as in new people. Those free flies really bring in a lot of people. And I remember talking to Badgers, and he was talking about how, like, he was just trying to load his inventory, and he literally had to wait for like 15 seconds for it to load, just because the servers are hammered that much.
It was terrible.
So there's definitely more people in the game, but that's a good thing, though. Yeah. Bringing in new faces.
Yeah. That view that it's kind of like the Invictus week's gotten to the point where I think the first 2 years it was interesting for everyone, and like you're saying, Paul, now it's for the people who are used to it, it's happening, it's there, it's in the background. Like, if you want to swing by and see what's going on, sure, but it's mainly for the people who haven't seen that before. And it's interesting that we're finally at a point where Star Citizen can actually have big events happening in game and they're not exciting. Like, at least that means that they're actually doing multiple things now. Like, other stuff is happening.
Just the word usage there is just a bit weird. Yeah, really cool events that are totally boring. Just the way.
Well, it's just been normal. You know?
Yeah.
Like I live in San Francisco for like half of my life, and I know people come to San Francisco to see the Golden Gate Bridge, but I saw it every morning, and or not every morning, but I see it frequently, and all the time. It's like, it's just a bridge. But people are like, this is so romantic, and it's like, it's a bridge. It's just painted red. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I feel like it's the sort of like we've been here before, and all the tourists are showing up being like, ooh. And for us, it's like,
it's a bridge. Hello? It's orange.
Yeah.
Great. So what did you think then in terms of it being an event all focused on the ships and bringing in the newcomers and letting them see and try out all these ships? In fact, let's kind of talk about what is it that they're actually trying to do with Invictus Week, and did they do a good job of that this year?
I would.
I'll start.
I don't know. Well, you go.
All right. Here's my thought. There's two things. First of all, the obvious one is money.
Yep.
More money.
Yep.
And in terms of that, they succeeded wildly.
Yeah.
Looking at the funding tracker,
I actually haven't looked
we
at
haven't
the
even gotten
funding yet.
so we've beaten last year's May sales.
Oh my
And
gosh.
there's still 2 days left.
That's insane. May was ridiculous last year.
Yeah, it was I'm gonna say not 3 million. It's like 13,400,000, and this year we're at 13,600,000. Not beaten May from 2020 yet, but we still have Drake, and Drake is probably going to be selling the Kraken. So,
Not to mention the Mule either. The Mule's gonna. And I think my camera's frozen. I'll reset it.
That is
yeah.
that is just. I mean, that's a truly insane amount of money to make in 1 month. I mean, I know video games generally gross a lot of money, but like, this isn't a game yet.
No, and it's important to remember that in terms of how to put this, in terms of funding for this year, every month has been the best month they've ever had.
Yeah, it is. That's
It's been
correct.
a good year. Yeah.
They've almost made 50 million, and it's not even the end of May.
Oh my gosh. These numbers are crazy. So
Yeah.
okay. So their goal was to make money, and they made money. Yeah.
I think the other goal is to get new people into the game. Always to getting more people in. And Chris said in the letter to the chairman that they've had an increased interest, like of just accounts being made over the last couple of months, just much higher than normal.
Yeah.
And I think in the first couple of days of Invictus, over 50,000 new accounts were made.
That's what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Which is
So,
I mean,
yeah. Even if 1% of that's 5,000 sales in, or I don't know, I can't math, but it's still
5,000.
significant.
Yeah.
It's 5,000. That's 5,000 sales of new backers.
Wait, no, that'd be 10%
in a week.
Oh my gosh, we're terrible.
That'd be 10%.
Yeah.
I'm not a math teacher. 500. But that's still a lot of people, a lot of new people coming in from just those new accounts alone.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the likelihood. The likelihood is probably more of a return of 50%. Would be my guess.
I'm actually looking at Aegis Day, the day between, and RSI Day, and they all three of them cracked over $1 million. With just the first RSI Day alone making 1.46 million.
I think what would be interesting to know is then looking at the breakdown of how expensive the ships that were selling that day. Because I'd love to know if people are buying more of these big $400 or $500 ships, or if it's a ton of new people who are coming in and they're getting their second ship, their $100 or like $80 ship. Because
honestly, my take is probably it's more like the new folks. It just does not feel like the older folks are buying a ton of stuff or necessarily as invested as they used to. Newer folks coming in and kind of buying new accounts and then buying their first big ships, especially during these events because they have LTI and such. But I will say overall, I think Invictus was a success. They had some issues, but they have issues every free flight. And for those of you who are brand new, that's what you need to learn. If you just bought the game and you're like, I want to get my friends into this game, and you had a good experience, free flights are always worse because they use them to stress test, and if they can, but they always get better. This, like, after that first weekend where everything was broken, kind of like Tuesday, everything was fine.
Yeah.
So
happens every year.
I'd almost argue new people in the Scorpius would have gone hand in hand on that first day of RSI. Like a lot of people, I reckon, would have grabbed that one. I don't know. It's tough to guess what ships people get because you can never tell if they're combat people or they're trading, utility, industrial people. Right. Everyone's got their own niche.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it would be interesting to see.
Do you think that the event itself is I mean, it's really only been going on for 3 years, and we've only been able to do like the javelin and bangle thing for the last 2, including this one. Do you think that they need to switch it up?
I don't know, like, because fundamentally, isn't it to sell ships, like as Paul kind of said?
Yeah, it's to sell
that's
ships.
what it's about.
I'm just wondering if because they've always had to restrict the things they do in the game based on the technology and the features they have. Is there a possibility that they may want to take into account the fact that, I don't know, maybe they could do like a planetary demo room or something where like they actually host something down on a planet surface because NPCs can walk around on the surface next year? Or like maybe they want to do something a little more interesting that gets people more involved and string an event into it.
At the moment, do you think the service could handle an event
Not right now,
and a free fly?
No, but maybe next year.
Maybe.
I will say I think the biggest issue at this point comes down more to the state of the game. Like, do I think that CIG wants to do the 999th doing air like exercises over Orison? Oh yeah, they want air shows. They want those sorts of things happening. They want the demo rooms where you can go get the UEE naval experience or whatever, where you go play Arena Commander and you get little prizes for doing stuff. That's the kind of stuff they want to do. But I think right now they're so focused on Squadron that anybody who would be available to do that is working on something else.
Sure.
So
right.
Because trust me, I'm the guy who's like, we want more events and more crazy stuff and more things that are fun. But I think the problem is just like, where's the priority? And the priority is just not quite for events yet.
Always Squadron.
That's literally the word I was going to use was priority. Yeah. I agree with Paul 100%. You've just got to, like, we really got to get Squadron 42 out the door. Sure. Like, as soon as that's out, the better, and we can move on to actually working on Star Citizen and the PU. Yeah.
So someday we'll be able to see the cool air shows. At least according to these two, they've confirmed it. So go back to them. I didn't say anything.
Confirmed.
Yes.
Confirmed. After Squadron 42, you'll have the best air show ever. Everyone says
soon.
Soon.
All right. Going back to the ship sales, you guys covered, or will execute. You covered basically every sale that happened. AstroPub, you did like a couple of different streams, and you talked about this, I'm sure, in office hours. What were your how'd you feel about the sales this year? Execute, we did an Inforunners episode just, what was that, yesterday? And we kind of talked about the war bonds and
Space went complete rant mode at the end of that episode. So you know how we tangent sometimes, Paul? He tangented like a mofo, like completely off the rails.
That
like
website.
It was a whole, and I even said to him, I said, dude, this is a whole nother episode we should do with Paul. Like, just like we have to do it. I think it would be a good episode.
The Star Citizen website turns me into tomato soup. It is so like it needs to be fixed soon.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Do you remember when we did? Paul will tell you we were brainstorming episodes for Can We Fix It, and one of the ones that came up was Can You Fix the Website? Like when we were talking about ships normally. So that's what we should do. We'll do a Can You Fix It, the RSI website. We'll do that as an episode, I reckon.
It's actually pretty funny. I'm pretty sure one of the first episodes I ever watched of Inforunners, this is before I started doing my own content, or at least like when I first started and I wasn't really doing that much. You were talking about things you would change with the website. I remember I had downloaded it and I had it playing like a podcast while I was in the gym, and I was like, you know what, they're right. And I've stuck on that ever since. I'm like, because the website.
Yeah.
But anyways, the sales themselves, what were your thoughts on them and how they changed from last year?
I think it kind of fundamentally goes back to what kind of Paul said. Like, it's not really for us anymore. And teeing up with the free fly is a really good way to pull new people in. But to kind of bring it around to what you're saying about the website, I don't think there's a single... I'd be really surprised to know what the solo new players are, because I still think a lot of people brought into this game are handheld through that experience, because I think it's too difficult. And that's kind of where that discussion with you and me started yesterday, Keenan. Like, we were just looking at it, and it's just like... It's, as you said, it's... What'd you call it? RSI soup?
It makes me tomato soup.
Yeah, it's but it is. It's just it is not straightforward. I think the thing that the example I always give is, like, they call them CCUs, which is a law thing, But then you go into the actual system and it says ship upgrades. And then another part of the website, they call them upgrades. Can you just pick one and stick to it, please?
Yeah. And then
as an example, and that goes over multiple things, not just that. Sorry, but yeah.
And just the way that like you go from one, it's just so jarring the way that it switches from old website to new website, because the new style is very up to date. It's flat. It's like materialistic. It's minimal. And then the old one is kind of like this. I said it yesterday. It was like a 2008 fan made forums kind of design. It's not necessarily bad. It just feels very like they haven't been keeping it up. It doesn't feel like their actual front of the company.
Even the new one's not that great though either, because like I was talking to other people, because I had comments that came back to us after that episode, and one person was saying it's really difficult. Like I was like, he loaded the website up, and it's like one ship was available. He said, what's going on? And then he realized he had to actually click on the different manufacturers. Why didn't it just show all the ships for sale? And that was from someone that was fairly new. He was saying to me like, I just want to see what ships was for sale, and I couldn't navigate it properly. So again, I don't think it needs to be so flashy and new. It just needs to be ease of use. I think the whole website. Yeah, but you got to think it from a new player perspective. I think the whole thing needs to be ease of use-ified more than flashy. I think that the priority, especially if you're selling things, needs to be ease of use.
Yeah, better UX. But there was also something else that you had pointed out, the difference between the pricing that they did between this year and last year.
Yeah, so a lot of the CCUs have so those discounted Warbond CCUs are not having the same discount they had. So the one that was really noticeable for me, there were others, but I think when we were talking yesterday, it was the Hercules series, that they'd been $40 discount previously, and now they're only $30. So they've dropped that by 25%. And that seems to be a kind of thing across the board. A lot of the discounts have dropped by 25%.
And that's something that CIG is not unknown to do, kind of making small changes in the background and maybe leaving a small message here or there, or like saying a message the night before it happens. But that's definitely one of the things, one of the problems I have with the way they do these things is they just kind of, they're just like, oh, y'all are a big company, you gotta let people know.
We've still got Drake to go, but at the moment they don't seem to link up as well. Invictus, obviously, there's less ships, so obviously you don't get those really cool CCU chains that you can get. But just at the moment, there seems to be a bit more overlap than there was previously. So, like, they only, to give an example, like last year, I think they had war bonds for the C2, the M2, and the A2. This year, they only had the C2. So you could do multiple jumps up and link them together, and this year you kind of can't. Actually, I haven't checked today, so that could make a liar out of me. There might actually be.
They just updated it. Today. Now you look like a fool.
Yeah, probably did. Let me have a look while we're talking. Just see what today's was, because yesterday was the C2. Yeah, keep talking amongst yourself. Don't wait for me.
So yeah, AstroPub, what do you think of the sales this year?
I think that they are. In general, I'm not one to play the CCU game, but I think the overall impression I'm getting is that every sale is going to be higher in price, and just assume that CIG is going to be increasing the prices because they seem to be, they're not communicative about changing prices. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're just going to do it. They're not going to tell you. And they said from the very beginning that their plan is that the earlier you get it, the cheaper it's going to be, and it's going to be more expensive, and eventually you won't be able to purchase it outright. You'll have to go into the game and earn it. So if you really, really, really want it, go get it. But if don't hold out just because you're waiting for a better price or a better CCU.
Yeah, me and Keenan stumbled on this yesterday, Paul. So I'd just like to give me a reason for why motorbikes are flyable in Star Citizen. Because the Ranger was apparently they've changed it, by the way, after we complained.
Did they really?
It's changed. It now just says in concept. But yesterday the Ranger literally said now flyable, and I was wanted to know how motorbikes fly. But yeah, they've changed it today. So they've actually backtracked and changed it, but it was really weird because it said now flyable, and it was weird because it was a motorbike, and obviously motorbikes can't fly. So but it does say it on the tank though. The Nova tank is flyable. Apparently, tanks fly. Yeah, tanks fly.
Yeah. They do. Yeah. Every once in a while, but you do get the feeling that the prices are always going up, this is something I think I talked with Ollie43 about. In that the people who buy at the earliest stage, at that concept stage, you know, they're basically telling people, hey, buy our concept ships, because if you buy it later, it's going to be more expensive. And it feels like that's happening for every sale now too. Every year, every ship goes up more and more. Is that going to end up being every ship is just super expensive in the future? Or what's
yeah,
happening?
well, that was their plan. They laid that out. But the other thing is, these Warbond CCUs has kind of broken that mold. There are some cases where using Warbond CCUs, you were able to get ships cheaper than concept. You know,
Right.
like last Invictus, there was a couple of CCUs that you could apply to the Polaris, and on the very first day of the sale, when that RSI was the first day, you could actually get the Polaris for $525 last year, and the original concept was $650. So they'd actually kind of broken their promise there.
And that's the real game right there.
Right.
The CCUs.
Yeah.
It's not Star Citizen. You're not
That's
here for the space sim.
No,
you're,
no.
you're here to buy ships.
Yeah.
Is this a problem? Like, are they getting too complicated?
I think that's what they're rectifying.
But
I think that's what they're rectifying here.
Yeah, okay.
They're not linking them together as well. You know, so.
You have any thoughts on that, Paul? On how I mean, you're the one who introduced the idea that the prices are going up, and
The
I
prices
think
are going up.
this is part of
He's not
this is the hardest thing to talk about with this game, in my opinion. Is the ship sales.
He's not introduced it. What he's stating there is what they've stated in the past.
Right,
He's just
introduce the conversation.
Yeah, into the topic.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
what
sorry.
I'll say is I don't think it's a bad thing, because I think the CIG doesn't want this game to be all about ships. They want the game to stand on its own, and that ships are the way that you kind of introduce yourself to the universe.
Right. Yeah.
And they want people to earn it in game. And CIG seemed to be very concerned about letting players unlock ships, but the second they started unlocking ships, their sales started going up.
True. Yeah.
So even though people could buy ships in game, people would basically try it out, like rent it a little bit, play it a little bit, then suddenly their sales shot up. So CIG realized that, hey, maybe we should just let people buy ships in game. They'll be more willing to pay for it otherwise.
It worked.
Yeah.
too well.
Yeah. I don't think it's a problem, because in the end, I think most people are here to play the game, not for ships. I think a lot of people are in it right now because of ships, but as the game, like 317 is the best experience in Star Citizen, period, that we've ever had in terms of performance, in terms of gameplay. Does it have bugs? Does it have issues? Yeah, but it hands down is a better game than we've ever had, and it's only going to be getting better as we go forward.
Yeah,
so,
that little introduction of like the Vulcan and DirectX 12, just the performance level, like just jump for everyone. And I think that's over the next couple of patches is going to improve and improve.
Yeah.
Just that tiny little bit of optimization, just when it make it, like some people were getting 30 frames a second and now they're up to 60, and that's just made the world of difference.
Yeah. Some people
I went
got
from 40 to like 100.
Oh my gosh. I'm still getting 30,
Yeah.
but at least it's not like 22 for me anymore. So I'm looking forward to the future. It is kind of, that's a really good point you made, AstroPub, about the fact that they don't want people just to focus on ships, because a lot of the times when people think about Star Citizen and then they hear that you can buy ships, their first impression is, well, it's a space sim. Everything must be based on the ships. So if you buy ships, you are essentially buying everything in the game. And they've definitely done a lot to start and decouple those things.
I got a question for both, because this is the other thing. Like, I realistically sit here and look at it. You know how you talk about like they're worried about them unlocking the ships? This is the thing I've started asking myself. When the full universe is there, I don't think you could almost have too many ships. I'm starting to worry about that now, right? Because if you are living in just one solar system, yes. But if you have to travel from one side of the solar system to the other, are you going to sit there and literally reclaim every single ship that you own every time you get there?
Oh, man.
I
But that's the...
I think the plan is that you can pay for it to be moved piece by piece, or like from one place to another.
But how long is that going to take?
Exactly.
Probably
It's going to be effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? That's the whole game so big thing.
Yeah. So what I'll think, like, because I always wondered, like when is a single person's fleet too big even for an org? But what'll happen is if, say, you've got 30 people and they've got like all got a javelin, you could have a javelin in every single system with that org, so to speak. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it really all pans out in the end.
Mm-hmm. And by that time, we do know, as I'm seeing some chat going on in the podcast chat right now. They have, I'm actually still a little uncertain about this. You probably will both know better. They have talked about how you won't be able to buy ships once the game goes live, per se. I'm thinking they're going to continue to sell cheap ships, like ships that are less than like $80, maybe $100. But they have indeed confirmed that they're not going to be selling these ships anymore after the game is funded and ready to go live, correct?
So here's the catch. They said they will no longer sell ships, but they will sell ship packages.
So I also think they're going to sell new ships, Paul. They've hinted at that too.
Selling what?
The concept ships, basically. I guess.
And they also talked about upgrading ships, so like a new version of the Hornet or a new version of the Constellation.
I don't know about concepts. I mean, it makes sense because like that's how they would make the concept. That would be like, oh, okay, it's going to be the patch next year, so get hyped for that. But yeah, I don't know about the sales.
So if you kind of look similar to what they've got now, so say they bring out a new ship and you pay X amount of dollars for it, and you get 6 months exclusivity before people can actually buy it in game. So how would you feel about that? If you say you bought a Constellation for, I don't know, it's the new Constellation or whatever, and you can buy a CCU to go from the one you have to it, or you can buy it outright, but then you have 6 months exclusivity before anyone else can use it in game.
See, that's paywalling an experience. That's
I think
something
it is a
I've
bit.
always thought they would be good at. You know, hey, we're not going to charge you a subscription. We're not going to make you pay for DLC. We're using this crazy funding model because it allows for everybody to experience everything. That kind of goes against that, in my opinion.
I think they will charge for DLC, won't they?
But, I mean, they've said that they will not do a DLC in the same, like, if they're going to do a DLC, what they said it would be like an Alien experience, like playing as a Tavaran or as.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, but they don't want to do DLC in the sense, and one thing I am worried about is CIG doing this thing where a ship is in concept, they sell a ship in concept, and it comes out from concept, and then it's only the people who paid for it get it early on, and like that, because to me that's like, okay, so then they have exclusive rights to use it for 3 months. That's bad for gameplay. It's bad for the community. It makes much more sense to make it available for everyone. Except the thing that why you buy it in concept is you're guaranteed to get it when it comes out, rather than having to fly to the area where it's being made and purchase it with UEC where it'd be sold, which wouldn't be a guaranteed to get it because it could be backlogged for sales and that kind of stuff like that.
I like that.
What you were saying there about that DLC, the actual word usage they used back in the day was expansion pack. They actually used expansion pack. They didn't use DLC. So we're talking like traditional, those of us that are old enough to remember expansion packs.
Oh, come on now.
You're around.
Games back in the day. Yeah.
Around. Like, no. I just meant there are some younger people here that have never seen. Like I've got a younger brother. He's never seen an expansion pack. All he knows is DLCs because he was never old enough to remember them. And you don't see expansion packs much these days. Let's be honest. There's sequels and DLC that you don't really get expansion packs anymore.
Yeah. Well, I definitely am hoping that. We see a straight, because like I was just getting at before, it's all very complex. Like they made it super complicated. Part of that's by design, the CCU things and all that. Part of that is just them making different caveats for different types of funding. But I really do hope that they simplify it once the game goes live, and they're not trying to pull this "so you paid money, you get it first" kind of thing. Imagine a feature. Right? Imagine they're releasing a patch, and this is like some big new patch, kind of like how they're phrasing Pyro to be, but instead of just a star system, it's like let's say it's base building, right? And then they're like, okay, this is the base building patch. It came in after the game went live, but if you buy the Pioneer, you can build bases exclusively for 6 months. That would suck.
Yeah.
What you were saying too about the website and stuff, we actually did go over that with Sandy, by the way. After we interviewed her, me and Alga talked to her for probably about another half an hour. And we broached a few topics that, because we haven't talked to her in a few years, and we just said, do you mind if we go over some stuff with you that we think you should look at? And she's like, yeah, sure, I'd love that feedback. Because she knows Alga and I are like kind of hardcore fans. And so she doesn't get chance, because of COVID and that, she hadn't had a chance to talk to anyone in quite a while on that regard. So we went through a few things, and that was one of the things we went over was just how complicated the whole CCU system is, the website, streamlining it for new people. Things we even said things like all ships just if you pay money, they should just come with LTI. Simplify it outright. Why is there like 10 different insurance systems and all this stuff?
You're funding the game.
Yeah.
Like just give it to them. It's not that big a deal. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not making the game.
So maybe she talks to Chris. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. I'm hoping that message gets through.
So during this week, they usually are introducing new ships and new vehicles. This week we got 3 new ones. The Scorpius, though, is kind of like we've been seeing that, so we'll push that one off to the side. We got the Mule and we got the Anvil Legionnaire. Now, I know that you two had an idea of what Anvil ship was going to come into the game with this sale. How did this compare to what you were thinking?
And we were both sorely disappointed.
We were wrong. Very wrong.
Was it like even
we were
close?
wrong, but we were disappointed. I will say this ship does have a place, though. I think Paul will agree with me on that. It does have a place. It's just not what we wanted. Especially as older backers. Yeah, all this. Yeah, it is. That's basically what it is. It's another Mantis. Yeah. It's another ship
that's needed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a ship that basically introduces the feature.
Yeah. So
and also is one thing that is super niche. It's super niche and introduces a feature.
Yeah.
And for its price point, you can see why it's at its price point. But like there are ships around it that are just better for that price point. It is a ship that's needed because we didn't specifically have a ship to ship boarding ship.
Right.
And also the real thing that is special about that ship is it most likely will fit on a small pad, where all the other boarding ships we currently have are like a medium and up. So it does have a unique ability. Like it's almost like you'd board it up on an Idris or Kraken and then fly them straight over, and it really wouldn't be in the combat. It'd kind of be after the Idris is disabled and all the fighters have been picked off. Then you can send it over and just crack that tin can open, so to speak, and kill everything inside and gut it, and there you go. You got another Idris.
Yeah, it's a very cool ship, and it makes me think that they're gonna make ship to ship transfers and boarding a little bit bigger deal than I thought it would be. I thought it would always just kind of be like, here are your tools, figure out how to do it. But now they're kind of like, okay, you got a process of protecting your ship and approaching. You got to hack in. Maybe you need to blow a door open. You need to actually create a physical connection. So that part of gameplay, it's nice to see that they're focusing on building that up more with this ship being introduced. I do wish that with this ship introduced, they had more solid information to give us on shipboarding gameplay, though.
Actually, why Paul's here? I've got a really important question. Paul, could you actually use the MPUV to do a similar action to the Legionnaire? As in, because they've got that troop transport car variant. Couldn't you? Because I remember originally the MPV, when we looked at that, they did have a version for a welding arm on it. So what I'm thinking is if you went over with the car, the transport on the back, welded the door open, and then just turn around and no. Okay,
possibly.
I'm touching at straws.
I think there's definitely, because I think the backside of the personnel carrier actually has a docking arm.
Yeah,
docking port, but I don't think it can hack. So, but it can dock.
Just need a bomb.
Physically.
Charge. Yeah,
that's what I meant. Yeah, okay, interesting.
And how about the Mule?
I've driven that, and I did. Did you get to drive it, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you go first. Yeah,
she's speedy. She is the Mule is an example of a ship that we have no purpose for right now, but is definitely designed for pyro, and for what is it, the inventory
Cargo refactor.
Cargo refactor. Yeah, the cargo refactor. So
yeah, I saw people talking a lot about it, how it wouldn't really be useful for the current missions that we're doing, but it definitely seems like it's geared towards, along with a lot of the other things like better wheeled gameplay and hovercrafts, geared towards the ground gameplay they're going to focus on in Pyro.
I think they're going to sell a lot of them. There's just something I like about it, and I can't put my finger on what it is. But like when I got in the Rock, I didn't like the Rock. It was just something I hated about the Rock. But when I get in the Mule, there was just something utilitarian that felt really cool, and the ability to, like, you know what it's going to be used for. It's like that little forklift, and there was just something like in my head. I could see myself loading and unloading my ship with the Mule, and there was just something that was really, really appealing. And if they hit that right price point with it, which they seem to be doing a lot better recently, like imagine if it was $20. I reckon they would. I reckon they would sell a shit. If it was $10, I think everyone would buy one. You know,
price of a skin.
Because like you, well, you look at the. We talked about this yesterday in the rant that we did. But like, you know, at $55, the Rock is insane, right? But considering you get the Aurora in a package for $45, so. If you can get the Rock, like if you can level that, I don't know, what's that price point, Paul? Where would you see a price point for that being where it would sell like crazy? And I think $10 to $20 is not unreasonable, considering a Merlin is $25.
I would say $20 to $25.
Yeah.
If it's above, I think it's going to be sold at $35 or $45.
Yeah, sadly.
But I think it'd be better for at $25, just because it's one of those ships where. One of those vehicles where it has no purpose unless you're a cargo hauler, and then if you're a cargo hauler, you have to have one.
And that's why I put it
if you're a miner, you have to have a rock, but nobody else wants a rock. You know?
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. Like it seems less technical than the Rock, so it's got to definitely be cheaper than $55. And then again, with the whole price point thing at the moment, they seem to be realizing. I think you kind of did that, and when we're talking about the MPUV, Paul, I think you made them realize they can make a lot of money on volume with that vote that you did. And I think that they might try that again, like test the water with the Mule and go, here it is at $20, bang, and just see if it happens. And maybe they go even more ridiculous and go $10 and see where it goes. But like, as I said, like you work that out to the Merlin, I could justify being a little bit under the Merlin. That's why I think $20 would be a really good price point. But you know, hopes and dreams. I
think 25 would be perfect for that. But do you both see the reasoning for this, you know, as opposed to having like a tractor beam tool that could move these boxes around? This does seem like it still has more use.
I think we're definitely going to get a tractor beam tool, but it's important to remember that tractor beam tools are going to have power. They're going to have like their own energy cells that will eventually drain. And having one of these will allow you to carry large boxes over large distances if you can't say land directly at a location you need to go to. So it's
other things they didn't bring up. Sorry,
it's part truck, part cargo loader. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say one of the things they didn't show is really like how well this would work with like something like a rock, because you could literally go down into a cave with a rock and just mine so much extra stuff, or you could have multiple rocks and this thing's going up and down. You know, it's doing that kind of prospector to station thing with a cargo ship or something like that. It's just a mini version of that. So we don't have any other version of a cargo vehicle. So you just think of how you use a cargo vehicle with a ship, and you can kind of relay that to all the vehicles. And I don't think it'll be the only cargo vehicle we get.
Oh, God,
I think we will get more down the line. You know.
Yeah, they've said they wanted over 100 ground vehicles. So we're just working our way through that. I think the biggest thing that is being missed with this vehicle is people are saying things like the tractor beam will replace it, or it just doesn't have a place in the game. People need to remember that all of these vehicles aren't just being created. these are things that the company is making because they already know what's happening in development, and they're planning for this vehicle to have a place, even if it doesn't seem like the vehicle is needed for the game. Even if they don't have a plan for it right now, they're still going to force the game to balance around it. And I think
a great example of this is the Liberator. Liberator has no purpose, but when you start looking at the size of systems, you start to see the purpose.
Yeah,
exactly.
So.
I've actually got a good question for both of you, and this is a lore-based question. I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, that Drake doesn't look like the Drake Mule doesn't look like it's Drake. It looks like it's Argo or Misk or whatever." But I'm going to be honest with you. I think it does look Drake. Like when you get inside it and look at what they've done with it, I think it really was designed for Drake. And the reason not a lot of people have seen this yet, but obviously when you go look at the Vulture, and I think I was showing you footage yesterday, was I, Keenan, of the Vulture? Because I grabbed some from the show floor, and that Vulture is so different to any of the other Drake ships we've seen before. It's got it's like a lot of the other Drake ships have like garbage bin liners on the inside. This thing's got almost full metal all the way through. So the more industrial ships we see from Drake, I think you're going to see that there is a different direction the industry ships are going in. And because I would consider this to be more industrial, I would actually, once you see the Vulture, I think the Mule makes so much more sense.
It also, I mean, I think a lot of people have that reaction just because Argo is really the only company that's done industrial stuff, especially on the ground besides Grey Cat. But
you got Misk too. That would be the other one.
Yeah, but Misk hasn't done anything on the ground yet, right? Yeah.
No,
not yet.
For Misk.
So you automatically.
But you said it. Sorry, you said industrial. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but automatically you just start thinking of like those two companies because that's what they've done. But like you said, the Mule's cockpit looks a lot like the Venture. I almost said Venture.
The Rock. I get you.
Yeah. No, the Vulture. The Vulture's cockpit. I just finished like a comparison between ships and Star Citizen that look like other ones, so I thought it was the Venture. Right. And then it also kind of still has that like utilitarian look of Drake. I don't know. I think it fits the aesthetic pretty well. I think it makes it sense, especially if you consider that like Aegis made the Reclaimer. Like there's clearly a lot more that goes into these ships than just how they look.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Paul, do you have any timelines on when it was made? Maybe it was made at a certain time that did that.
No, just no information on it. But it definitely feels like a Drake ship. I wouldn't be surprised. The thing that you got to remember about Drake ships is that all Drake ships are designed to work together. So
exactly.
And the thing to compare it to is not to compare it to the ships, but to compare it to the Dragonfly. And if you look at the Dragonfly and you look at like the seats and you look at everything about it and like the way it's paneled and everything, it looks like the Dragonfly, but a bug. It's not what it is. Little bug.
I am pretty sure there's a cinematic coming for it as well, because where they had it in the Defense Drakon Hall, they have this cargo crate that's been broken open. And it's just sitting there with the Drake Mule on the inside. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have some kind of cinematic with it bursting out of the box.
Can't have
we'll see what
Jax
happens. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be Jax because he tends to be for the anniversary.
He's a pyro.
He's in pyro.
Yeah, he is too. Does that mean he's coming back for the anniversary sale though?
Means they're gonna have to hold IAE in pyro, I guess. That should go well. Oh man.
Any losses is not our problem.
Yeah, we're not offering insurance for this one.
Yeah.
All right. So the vehicles, the sales, all that stuff, we've covered that. Let's talk real briefly before we talk about like the next patch, because I do want to talk a little bit about what's coming this summer. Let's talk real quick about the free fly. And as an event, as a time for people to come and experience the game, I still think, even if the game's running poorly, that it's the best time to come in, because you can A, try out all the ships, B, see what's actually going on that quarter of Star Citizen, and then I guess that kind of B part 2, come back to another free fly in the future and understand how quickly they're working on this game. You know, it gives you a lot more context if you come back to each of these free flies. But a lot of people have been saying, no, this is a terrible time to bring players in. None of my friends want to ever come back. They hate this. It ruined their life. They've got a divorce. What exactly is like? What do you
Chris
think?
Roberts came out of the game and punched me in the face, and now my wife wants to leave me.
Yeah.
I think there's two problems. One, there's a lot of people who had a bad experience early on because the game was because it was garbage performing. Yeah. But people forget all the time that like free flies always start like that. And even this is going to sound weird because no one remembers this. All games launch like that.
Yep.
All games launch like that. There is very few games that have perfect launches. They always have crashes, especially online games. Crashes, queues. I remember doing the New World launch and fighting the queue boss for hours. You know, online games are just like that. It's just how they function, and you're never going to be able to fix that 100%. So and because it happens all the time like this, it's also probably more honest. And lastly, the people who are having fun with the game are not posting on social media. They're playing the game.
Yeah.
And when the free fly is up, we'll find out more from those people who are like, hey, I really enjoyed this or didn't enjoy this. And I honestly think it's going to come down to it's a minority of people who had a bad time and then just decided not to play anymore. And those people come back in the fall. So
just to back up what you're saying there, Paul, you can QA a game for 3 years, and in the first hour, the players will do more playtime than you did in those 3 years of QA. Because there's just so many more computers, faces, and all that, and they will find more bugs in that first hour than you found in 3 years.
We break that game.
Because, yeah. That's in that show.
And I mean, you said they had 50,000 accounts created that first week. They're already reporting around 60,000 concurrent players on a daily basis right now, and that was before the free fly. So I mean, clearly people are getting in and enjoying it. It's not that the bad experience is a unanimous or rather a universal experience. But it's something that definitely stands out. Doesn't need to be fixed. It's not like it's not a problem, but it's something that veterans do expect, and I think that newcomers should take note of it, but I also think that they should really consider where the game is and the whole point of this free fly. I made a video last week kind of saying that the point of the free fly is no longer to just make people come in and play the game, but to show them that like the game's being made. There's actually things going on. We don't need to make trailers to sell you. Just come play the game. It's like getting rid of the gameplay at CitizenCon.
Remember when I was telling you, like most gamers just want to play their games?
Yeah.
And so basically they're treating it like a Call of Duty or whatever. They're not really treating it like a game that's in development. So to them, they open it. It's like, oh, this just runs like shit. I've got heaps of bugs. They're treating it like they haven't even followed development. So they're treating it like a release game. They're not treating it like what the tag I would put on this game would be is like what Steam's got on, where they call things like early access. That's what they need to have something like this game is early access.
They say that
not this
all the time.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
they say alpha though. They don't.
They say early access. It's mentioned in all of the all of the there's the thing that pops up every single time you have to launch the game.
Paul, do you read it? Paul, have you read it once?
I've read it.
Skip. I've never read it. I just skip every time.
Never read that.
Well, the problem is
no one ever does.
Because that comes back to my old chestnut, which is gamers don't read.
It's true.
They're illiterate.
It's true.
They print pictures, but the answer is that CIG literally does everything but stand in front of your house and shout into your ears, "We're still working on it," and people will still ignore it. Like literally,
they need to come up like this: "Work in progress." Like just flash real like 3 or 4 times and then just disappear. That would get people's attention.
Just have the startup screen be an unskippable cutscene of Disco Lando telling you it's an early work in progress and to enjoy the game.
As long as he's dancing.
Yes.
Work in progress. Work in progress.
Yeah.
I will say this. If for any advice for anybody who had brought their friends in and now their friends left and Chris Roberts ate their babies.
He does it.
I'll come back.
He does. Just tell them the next time there's a free flight, say, hey, the game has improved since then. Come back and try it and see if you like it. And I can guarantee you that the next time they play, that now that they understand how it, at least the basic functionality of how to log into the game and move around, they'll be a little bit more, oh yeah, this does feel better. Especially, you know, the next free flight, which should be likely around CitizenCon, which should be after 318's release.
Yeah.
So which will be
have
completely
Pez
different.
and salvage oh my gosh, that's going to be a different game.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Gen 12 will be implemented fully.
That'll be big.
318. So
speaking of which, real quick, we're coming up on the hour here. Let's talk a little bit about the next update or two, because it's kind of confusing. We have a very big piece of technology, like monumental piece of technology coming in this year. So how are they going to try and fit this in so that we don't get our gameplay ruined, but we also get to do it? What's going on with these next updates?
Well, it looks staggered, doesn't it? Quite honestly.
Yeah.
For those of you who've played this game in the past, welcome back to 2.0.
Oh yeah, I'm not going through 3.0 again. No, you can't make me. No. That was a year of hell. That was a year of hell.
2.0 and 3.0, where they spent a month in Evocati in PTU.
It was two months for 3.0. It was like 8.5 weeks. 8.5 weeks.
Yeah, it was like, and for 2.0 it was like 3 months. I think it was from October to December. And it was like an entire quarter where it was just in PTU. So that's effectively what they're going to do again. They're just going to take their time. They're going to let it go. And they're going to be people who will be able to play it, and you won't be able to play it because those people are concierge or
it'll run like shit though. At the start, it'll run terrible.
Crash counters, the return of the crash counters, the return of the uptimers. It's going to happen.
30Ks.
I wonder if they'll bring down the burn down. You guys remember that?
Bring that back. Bring that back.
Yeah, for the 4.0 launch.
Oh, for sure. But the key to remember is that there's such huge amounts of stuff that's being added in 3.18, but they're not just stopping development because they got to work on that stuff. They're just going to add those things into the game as they're working on 3.18. So anything that's going to be done between 3.17.2 to 3.18 is going to be added into 3.18.
Right.
And the reason why they're extending this testing is not because of those other things, but because of the persistent entity streaming, which or PES. Which is the persistence that allows Chris Roberts to litter in woods and get away with it.
Your coffee cup. So for anybody who's listening to this and doesn't quite know what we're talking about, 3.17.1 is the patch that came out with Invictus Week, and that's normally like a hotfix patch or an event patch or some kind of a mini patch. It's not a full quarterly patch.
Yeah.
Instead of creating 3.18 in the June branch when they would normally start working on 3.18, they're going to do another one of those patches, 3.17.2. That patch will contain content that would normally come in 3.18, but not the driving force of 3.18, which is persistent entity streaming. So we've been talking about this idea that we'll be testing stuff for a couple of months before we get 3.18. That's the whole point. They want to test persistent entity streaming on a different branch that won't touch anybody who's playing the game live, so that they don't have the same experience that we just had during the free fly. They want to basically make a safe place to play.
It does delay a lot of stuff because the cargo refactors in 3.18.
It does, yeah.
More Vulkan and DirectX 12 stuff in there as well. So that's a big patch now. That's easily the biggest patch of the year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be the last patch of the year because it's important to remember that they're not going to have a patch after that. They'll have a 3.18.2.1 probably for IAE, but
that's what they said on the roadmap roundup, right? They want to do 3.19 as like a halfway kind of patch thing or whatever.
So Jake has clarified that.
Okay.
This was confusing because we talked about this in my office hours last night, because I said they're not going to do it because Chris said they're not doing it. So basically, they don't know when server meshing is going to be completed. Right. They know it's going to happen anywhere between say October and next March. And the reason why they don't know the spread very well is because they don't know if they don't know when PES is going to be stable enough for them to work on server meshing.
Yeah.
So if there is not if they can't release a patch in the end of the year, they're going to do a 3.19 patch and then 4.0 will be tested at the same time as 3.19, but it'll go off into March.
Okay.
Basically, like a 3.8, it's effectively 3.18.2 is what it'll be, or 3.18, you know.
Yeah.
But they're just calling it 3.19.
Unfortunately, though, because of that, I'm going to have to change a script I already recorded. I didn't plan on a 3.19. But yeah, so the patch situation this year is a little bit weird, but the overall takeaway from it is that I do wish they had told us a little bit about this persistent entity stuff going on a little earlier, but I guess they were waiting until it was working, which was nice. Main takeaway, though, very big tech being worked on. It's not incredibly certain as to the exact day it will come in, but in the next year, within a year from now, a lot of substantial stuff's going to be moving.
How many times have we said this, Paul? Like, in the next 12 months, you won't recognize how different this game will be, and it has every time. It's got bigger and bigger, but it'll be the same again. Like, it'll be way more performance, way more like the server meshing. We'll probably have pyro by then, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm
glad that this time specifically we will finally be able to be like, you will be somewhere where you won't recognize things. Like, we've always been around Crusader, right? This time we'll actually be able to be in a different place, which will be a nice change.
I know Paul wants to get going, but I have to ask Paul why he's here. We didn't talk about Alien Week, because that's kind of a part of Invictus as well. Yeah. And I one of the things I always bring up is they hit those different ships at those different price points. So we've got the Legionnaire and the Mule. So that's your small and medium. Are we going to get a large alien ship?
We got one last.
Like we got last. Well, yeah, we got the. Well, that's kind of a. I can argue that's a medium, but yeah, but like we don't have that like $350 price point ship this time around. So yeah, that what could we? From a lore perspective, Paul, what could we possibly expect from the aliens besides cows?
Either a new Tavaran ship from Asperia or a Xi'an ship. And it's much more likely to be a Xi'an ship, because the Xi'an and humans have signed what's called the Human-Xi'an Trade Agreement, which allows for things like Aopoa and G'tak to sell their ships in human space. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another thing from Raylan. And considering we already have things like, say, the Odyssey and the Expanse, I wouldn't be surprised if we have something similar, like a refining ship from the because the number one gas refiner in the Empire is a Xi'an-owned company.
Oh, that's exciting. That's some good
that
lore.
lines up with the stuff I learned about from refining too, and that episode we did on the 9. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we did an episode. What was the episode? 9 ships you didn't know existed on Infrarunners, and Paul was there, and oh man, that's amazing, Paul. Yeah, that's okay.
That'll be cool.
Tickled me think. Yeah.
I also like out of my butt pulled a that had no backing an Anvil Corvette, and that never materialized. So
I still think that's on the cards though, dude. Like you and I have talked about that a lot. The Anvil just doesn't have the combat ships it should have. Like to rival Aegis, there are just ships missing at certain size points that company just does not have. So they'll come. It just hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that Anvil one you were talking about will come at AIE because it's bigger. You know, might be the capital ship we get this year.
Well, I really do hope that you're more right about this than the Anvil ship, because seeing an industrial alien ship would be pretty cool. I mean, we've only gotten like cargo hauling and combat ships so far, I think, but seeing like a refiner or a or even a miner from an alien, that would be sick. I'd love to see what they do with that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of ships there. As I said in that episode, I think we worked out there were 9 ships just in the industry tree that are missing. We currently only have 7, so there is a lot of room there to put some alien ships in, and it'd be really cool. I think Paul's on the money there. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm trying to find the name of the company real quickly.
So how many Apoa companies are there? Now you've really. So because we've got G'tak and Apoa. Sorry, I said Apoa, but you know what I mean. G'tak and Apoa. Does that mean there's another one coming from them?
Possibly. Okay, so the name of the company that does a bunch of fuel stuff is called CTR. It's a franchise of stations offering refueling and repair services owned by the Xi'an company Jisho Corporation. It is the first fully owned business to open and operate UEE space, and has a large presence in the Xi'an Empire and UEE systems close to the Perry Line. CTR systems were in Santon. The small stations that we had way longer.
Yeah, I remember.
Those are all CTR stations.
Huh.
So, yeah.
So wait, CTR sounds like a human name, but you're saying what was the other name? The alien one. So are they working together?
No, CTR is the franchise name. The company that owns CTR is JYS.
So that's like alien owned.
They can't be freaking out humans with their real name. So they just call it CTR.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. I do hope that they use that as a way to introduce a refining ship or something for aliens.
Gatak Jisho like cooperative initiative to create a refining ship.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Alien Week might be the most exciting thing at Invictus. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I hope so. Alien Week next week. We'll see how it goes, but we've blown over the hour, and I know AstroPub's got a place to be, and I like to think that I'm busy, so I'll also say I have a place to be. But this has been episode 53 of the Launch Sequence podcast, best place for tomatoes and space things, and also Execute and AstroPub. Before we get off, could you both tell people where they can find you and what kind of cool little goodies you make online for them?
You can do it all, Paul, because you do it. You're way better at this than I am.
So if you want to see all of us, you can come to Inforunners, youtube.com/theinforunners, where we do Fix My Fleet. We do videos on ships. We do videos on Star Citizen's development, all sorts of Star Citizen topics, pre-recorded. We also have like a Patreon and other. We do bi-weekly streams, right? Thursdays and Fridays?
No, we do it every Thursday, Friday, but it's every week. We're just not doing it during Invictus because there's just too much shit on.
Yeah. So, and you can catch me twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I do live, and then I do pre-recorded that I do put videos out throughout the week. If you like lore, I do lots of lore stuff. I also do some stuff talking about development, and I have my weekly podcast, The Captain's Table, and the semi-regular podcast. It's like month to bi-monthly right now on lore, called Lore Citizen Podcast. So catch me there.
If you also want Paul to promote you can find him on Fiverr.
It's $5 per second. It's very expensive. Quick promotions.
I'll do your ad read. Yeah.
And I've been your host, Space Tomato. Of course, you can find this podcast on YouTube if you're watching it, as well as any audio platform. We do distribute to all the cool ones. That was actually ad-free and supported mainly by our supporters, our patrons, our Ko-fi members, our YouTube channel members. So if you'd like to help support the podcast, that's the best way. But also, I have a main channel with plenty of other footage. I have a stream on Twitch and a website. That being said, I'd like to thank you all one last time for coming to the episode this week, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching.
Bye. Have a nice time.